Whew. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. When it comes to the All-Star snubs, we already know about the few key names we can we can pretty much put a name onto them. Number one being Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns, especially that Chris Paul got the nod over him, which was crazy as can be. It feels like Devin Booker is now the new Damian Lillard back into the early 2014, 2015s to where Damian Lillard year after year was getting snubbed from All-Star reserve appearances in general. That's the same thing that's been trending with Devin Booker, who's not been giving his respect during this season. But even so, Anthony Davis has been out, and that pretty much leaves an open door for Devin Booker finally getting that nod into the All-Star game. Kudos to him, and his backcourt partner with Chris Paul are dominating the Western Conference with the 4 seed with the Phoenix Suns. We'll jump into a couple more All-Star snubs as we're here on ESPN's The Jump. The only main one was especially Devin Booker. The rest were kind of up in the air, especially in the Eastern Conference, but we'll cover more into that.
Let's talk All-Star reserves, friends. We're going to start in the Eastern Conference. Named last night, a good mix of returning guys, but a few new faces: Zach LaVine, Julius Randle, Jaylen Brown. Per usual, there was an uproar afterward about snubs, Richard, snubs. I don't want no snubs. So I'll start with you. Who belongs on the squad that didn't get the nod? But remember, if you add someone in, you must take someone's name off the board. Go.
Okay, 2 names that come to mind that got snubbed, or if not snubbed, they were definitely in the picture to where they had a really good chance to make an All-Star appearance. We all know these 2. Number 1 was being Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks, and the next from the Indiana Pacers is Domantas Sabonis. Now, when it comes down to these 2 players, the Atlanta Hawks have been struggling as it is these last 2 to 3 weeks. They've dropped down into the standings. They're looking around at around 11th seed with a 13-18 record, which is not a good case, especially as Trae Young, who was in that bubble All-Star player. I mean, he can get in, he can get out. But especially what shocked me was, hey, kudos to him, but Nikola Vucevic, who's having a fine season, pretty much stealthily came into the All-Star game reserve, which was mind-boggling for me whenever you have Sabonis and Trae Young with the wild cards, that if you're going to put Vucevic into the making. And you got to remember, these are league executives, NBA coaches that are making these picks when it comes to the reserves. So I'm pretty shocked for that. Julius Randle, well-deserved. He needs to stay there. Zach LaVine, well-deserved. He needs to stay there. Same thing with Tatum and Brown. They need to stay there. Harden especially. Vucevic, I would take him out. And Ben Simmons has been kind of up in the air. I would not have a problem if you take out Vucevic, Ben Simmons, and if you put in Domantas Sabonis and Trae Young. Now, if you're looking at any other quote-unquote snubs, people can throw out Jimmy Butler, Gordon Hayward. They're still not snubs in my vocabulary side of things. I mean, Jimmy Butler's getting you 19 a night, but he missed a good portion of the games beginning of the season. Gordon Hayward is having an excellent season, 22-4 with the Charlotte Hornets, but he's still not in there with me. He's pretty close, though, but it wouldn't justify. I wasn't thinking Gordon Hayward whenever I thought about a snub. You can throw out Tobias Harris as well, and Chris Middleton and Bam Adebayo, but essentially it was just Sabonis and Trae Young for me. I'm cool with Ben Simmons staying there. I don't have a problem with that, but mostly with Nikola Vucevic, definitely for me.
Nikola Vucevic does not belong on that team. I think it needs to be Sabonis. Now, I'm not saying that Vucevic isn't great. His team is just not performing at a level, and a lot of times we use that against players. Sure. But then you go and look at Sabonis. His numbers are great. And then you go and look at his team. His team is playing well. They traded players. They traded out Victor Oladipo. They bring in Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert is not playing with the team. And all he did was step up and put them in the fourth place in the Eastern Conference. And we're not talking about one of those like, oh, we're just okay. They're literally playing quality basketball with a brand new coach, and he is doing a great job. I think he belongs. He should have got it over Vucevic.
That's a good take. They're rewarding teams that have their team in position. And obviously, Sabonis has had a great season. You look at Bam, who's playing well. You look at Trae Young, who's averaging 27 points. But these guys, if I'm not mistaken, the only person who made the All-Star team out of the East that's team is not in playoff contention right now is Bradley Beal. And we all know what kind of season he's having. So, I see where Richard is.
Yeah, but real quick, Bradley Beal's giving you 35 a night. I mean, you can justify him as being an all-star. With the starter, there's really no one that you're going to put over Bradley Beal. I mean, possibly Jaylen Brown in that mix, but Bradley Beal's having too much of a superstar season. Well, he's not a superstar, but he's having a superstar type stat season to where you're pretty much forced to put him as a starter when there's really not that demand in the East. Now, you could make the case of putting James Harden in that backcourt with Kyrie Irving and eliminating Bradley Beal away from that starting lineup. I would agree, but Harden came too late to the Nets. He had the adjustment period for a week or two when Kyrie was with him, to where Harden was pretty much only giving you, like 15 to 19 a night, but with more assists. And then as of recently, lately, Harden's been picking it up more on the valuable impact side of things. So I think it's a little too late for Harden to be a starter, which he's nearing it. He's pretty close, but I'm cool with Bradley Beal being a starter within this. And the Washington Wizards have won 5 in a row. They've been picking it back up, so I'm cool with that.
That with that Vujovic and Sabonis, but overall, it's hard for me to take anyone outside of Vujovic off that roster and replace him with someone else since we're going by Rachel's rules.
Hey, RJ's right on the money. Not Matt Barnes, but Vucevic needs to be taken off that list immediately. If it comes down to either Trae Young or Sabonis, I'm probably going to have to roll with Sabonis since they are sitting at a 15-14 record, 4th in the Eastern Conference with the Indiana Pacers, with Karis LeVert out, and within those trades alongside. So I would have to put Sabonis over Trae Young. It's a close one. But I mean, at the end of the day, the Hawks have been dipping the last 2 to 3 weeks, 13-18 record, and that's going to affect voting.
Not just, I mean, again, this is physics. You cannot jam an extra human on there unless you take a human out. Right. I am just saying. All right, I want to move on to the West. Mostly vets with guys like CP3, Damian Lillard, who should have been in the starter. Anyway, Paul George, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Zion, the only first-time All-Star here. Now, Anthony Davis got the nod. He's unlikely to play due to injury. But that means, do we get Devin Booker right on there? Matt, where do you lie on this? The commissioner gets to pick who the injury substitution should be.
And before they had all these selections, they were right on all the selections here, besides from Chris Paul. It should have been flipped for Devin Booker, but Chris Paul is now, of course, going to be an all-star. It has been reported that Anthony Davis will not be playing, which is going to leave Devin Booker that opportunity to jump into the all-star game, which has been confirmed. So Devin Booker is going to be an all-star was the biggest snub. Beside from him filling in Anthony Davis, he should have been voted by the coaches and by the staff. It's disrespectful how they didn't put Devin Booker. I mean, he's having one of a career season as can be, 4th in the Western Conference. And the Phoenix Suns, are in that position because of Devin Booker and of Chris Paul's impact. But if you had to pick any of the two, it had to be Devin Booker. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're both in. I doubt this is going to happen 3 years in a row with Devin Booker. But who knows? I mean, Klay Thompson is coming back next season. Hopefully, knock on wood. But I don't know about that. Other snubs in the Western Conference. I mean, listen, the only thing for me was just Devin Booker. I've seen people throwing out names for Mike Conley, who's averaging 16 and 5 this season, who's having a good impact with the Utah Jazz, sitting at a number 1 record in the Western Conference at 25-6, 3 games over the second seed LA Clippers. And Mike Conley had, great contribution when it came to it. But that doesn't justify him being an automatic all-star over these guys. Another name, got to give kudos to, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, giving you 23-7 this season. Again, OKC is one of the bottom teams in the West, so I'm not shagging an eye on that whatsoever. De'Aaron Fox, I'll give an honorable mention to him. But besides from that, that's just pretty much it. I mean, people have also thrown DeMar DeRozan, Spurs. I'm not batting an eye on that. It was only Devin Booker for me. He got replaced by an injured Anthony Davis, which I knew was going to happen. And everything's set. So I'm cool with the All-Star Western Conference team. Everything's cool with it. So I really have nothing else to say.
I think 100% it should be Devin Booker. Again, a nice list. It's hard to remove anyone else, but Devin Booker's having a great year with his running mate CP3. Have his team, probably the biggest surprise team of the year. They're sitting at 4th place in the Western Conference, 10 games over 500, and I just love the kind of basketball they're playing.
No. The Phoenix Suns are not the most surprising team in the NBA. Most people had the Phoenix Suns finishing with the 4 seed anyways, 4 through 6 in that mix. So not shocking within there. One of the most surprising teams is going to have to be the Utah Jazz, 25-6 record, losing in the first round, blowing a 3-1 series lead. We typically see teams that blow a 3-1 series lead or something detrimental in the finals or playoffs that it's hard for them to recoup and bring themselves back. But with the Utah Jazz, they've been doing it and they've been picking it up. So kudos to them. One of the surprising teams on my end is going to be in the Western Conference is going to be the San Antonio Spurs, sitting at a 5th seed, 16-11, with no media coverage on them whatsoever. And they're 2.5 games away from the 4 seed, home court in the playoffs. Do I expect this to continue to the end of the season? Probably not. I expect the Dallas Mavericks, who are at 9th seed right now, to pick it up and get into the playoffs. The Denver Nuggets to pick it back up in the rankings. And that'll pretty much eliminate the Spurs into a 9th or 10th seed. We'll take it step by step by there. In the Eastern Conference, one of the most surprising teams, pretty much on my end, and this is kind of unjustified for some people, but the Indiana Pacers, I mean, they're usually a 4th or 5th seed. I didn't expect too much for them within this season after keeping Miles Turner and keeping the same pretty much core roster. But they're sitting in the 4th seed right now. Who knows what can happen with them? But the Knicks are one of the most surprising teams as well.
Like LeBron said, Devin Booker has consistently been looked over, and the commissioner should definitely do the right thing and hand that nod to Devin Booker.
Yeah, I agree. Now, again, this is where you're fortunate where we don't have to take somebody off because we know Anthony Davis is not playing.
Yep.
But I think this is more of a credit to Chris Paul, right? The minute Chris Paul got on that team, even though Devin Booker is putting up great numbers, which he has done for multiple years in his career, cracking the All-Star game last year, I think you look at it and you're like, well, the only reason why they're truly in 4th place is because Chris Paul brought a level of calm, security, veteran leadership. So that's why he was an all-star in OKC last year. That's why he's an all-star this year. People are giving him the credit for the success for the Suns and not Devin Booker. But I think Devin Booker will get it with Anthony Davis sitting out the All-Star game.
That's a great point, because when you say people are giving him credit, it's the coaches, right? The coaches are the ones who pick the reserves, and coaches love vets. So, yeah, I am not surprised it fell that way.
Not all coaches love vets. It's secure coaches that are secure. Insecure coaches don't like vets because vets know the real from the fake. So secure coaches like them.
I think you might be mixing that up. It's that coaches didn't like you when you were a vet, Richard. I don't know if we expand that out to everyone.
17 years, right? 17 years. I was doing something right.
Absolutely. Many things right. I'm gonna keep bragging on you because we only put that little thing up in the corner. This man has been in 4 NBA finals.
Hey, with a 1-3 record. No, I'm joking, RJ. I'm joking. You got that championship in 2016. You started a couple of games over Kevin Love, and you got it done with. So, kudos to you, man. Overall, Vucevic in the East should not be on the All-Star team. I don't care. They should have put Sabonis over Vucevic. If not Sabonis, Trae Young, if anything. But, I mean, having Vucevic over those 2 players is terrible on their end. And in the Western Conference, they should have had Devin Booker over Chris Paul. But you do have these coaches making these picks. So you have a bunch of old heads out there. They were more lenient and respecting towards a Chris Paul traditional impact than of a Devin Booker's, which I get their perspective, but you got to put Devin Booker over Chris Paul. But at the end of the day, they're both in the All-Star game as of right now due to Anthony Davis's injury. So they're all good within there. Besides that, I'm out.